Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Turkelson. I am looking at Chapter 6 in Ecce Romani now. Chapter 6 is called Early in the Day. This is the slaves get up and start working, and Cornelia sort of supervises them with the help of her mother, Aurelia. Just sort of a description of people getting up in general and working and things like that. Um, so I wanted to talk quickly about. I haven't been doing this for the other chapters, but I wanted to go quickly over the topics, especially the grammar topics for this chapter. So in this chapter, we see the slaves are in the household. What are they doing? As we see, they're working in the picture. Some are out in the yard, sort of, or out in the fields, doing some landscaping, perhaps. Some are bringing in water, maybe. This Anquila, this slave woman, is obviously preparing to cook or something, or not exactly sure what it is, but she's cooking, preparing to cook. And then we have a slave woman down here who is cleaning the floor. Another slave carrying some amphora filled with God only knows what. Maybe it's wine. A lot of these villas cultivated or harvested grapes and made them into wine. So who knows? Maybe that's wine. Could just be water. Who knows what it is? Um, but the grammatical topics are another use of the infinitive, and I'll get to that down here. And the idea, very new for English speakers, of gender in nouns and the adjectives that modify those nouns. And that will be covered here. So let's talk about gender because that's sort of the bigger topic for the chapter. Gender means there are three genders in Latin. There is masculine, there is feminine, and then there is what is called neuter, which really means neither masculine nor feminine. And we'll get to that really later on. I think it's chapter 15. You won't have to worry about neuter nouns for a while, but you will see masculine and feminine nouns. And there will be some neuter nouns thrown in, but the topic won't be covered until later on. So masculine obviously will be as masculine. The masculine gender will obviously be assigned to male people like Cornelius or Davos or Marcus or Sextus. Anyone who is a male, not a female, has a masculine gender. And you'll find that those names often end with us. That's probably the more popular ending for masculine nouns that you'll see at least for the next several chapters. But also words like puer, which means boy, is also a masculine. And then the word vir, vir, means man, and that is also a masculine noun. But a lot of the names, Marcus, Sextus, Cornelius, and then some of the jobs like servus, which means slave. Anytime you see though, especially this ending, it's very likely masculine. That won't always be the case, but 9 times out of 10 at least for now. And you'll see other nouns that end with er or r, and they'll be masculine as well. That is not always the case. I will only show you this down here. Arbor ends with R, and arbor means tree, and it is a feminine word. Um, the feminine gender is assigned to female people, and you'll see, maybe you've noticed, most of the women, their names end with the letter A, at least in the singular form, and that also goes for a word like Anquila, which is a slave woman, obviously a feminine gender. Um, so those are the basic hallmarks you're looking for especially this and this to assign gender to a noun. Now, of course, that only covers the singular form. For example, servi, which means slaves, is also masculine, so it's not always going to have that us ending or an er or an r ending if it's plural. That changes everything. But in its base singular form, these will be the words that will be masculine gender for a little while anyway. A few important notes. This is not always the case, as I say. The gender will get more complicated with time. You'll find that it's not reliable that these are the only masculine endings, and it's not reliable that this is the only feminine ending. As I say, arbor means tree, and that would you would think that would be a masculine word because it ends with an R, but it's not the case. You'll see Latin has all kinds of exceptions to the rules. Gender is number two. Gender is assigned to all Latin nouns and the adjectives that describe them, and not only to people. The gender of a noun is not always an intuitive or an obvious thing. For example, again, arbor and villa are feminine words. Why exactly the Romans considered a tree and a house to be feminine is mysterious. They had their reasons, but those reasons grew over a long period of time, and they're sort of lost in the annals of time now. Some of them make sense, like the word herbs means city. And the Romans, I think, considered a city something to protect the way that a man back then would protect a woman. That's sort of a guess. Again, Romans had a very different sort of approach to sexual politics than we do. They were very masculine oriented and made no apologies for it. Number three, when memorizing the gender of a noun, you'll have to sooner or later you'll have to memorize the gender of each noun. So try to imagine a vivid, weird image that sticks in your head, like a tree wearing a dress. The word arbor is feminine. And if you imagine something strange like a tree wearing a dress, this is the example I always use to my classes, it will help you to remember that arbor is a feminine word. That will help you in the long run, as I say. And then, so that covers the broad strokes of gender. By the way, nouns have a natural gender, you could say. Every noun does have a given gender. The way that every child born is either a male or a female child. But an adjective has gender only by the noun that it modifies. So you'll see, I'll put a few lines in here to sort of create an example. You'll see that a big girl is magna puella, but a big boy is magnus puer. So adjectives change their forms based on the nouns that they modify. You'll sooner or later, well, no, I won't get to it now because I don't want to confuse the matter too much, but suffice it to say that this word has a given gender, but this word only has gender based on this word. They adopt the gender of the nouns that they describe in essence. So that's the basics of gender. Then we have this thing called an infinitive verbs with impersonal verb phrases. The example of an impersonal verb phrase that you're going to see for now, there are a few of them at least. There's several of them. The first one, or the most frequent one you're going to see, is necesse est, which means it is necessary. And this is called an impersonal verb phrase because it uses this word it, right? And I say here, not a very personal word, and it doesn't really seem, it's not a person, right? When we say it is necessary to climb the tree, we're not saying she or he is necessary, we're saying it is necessary. So this is where it has this impersonal sort of quality. And these impersonal verb phrases are very often followed by infinitives. And again, infinitives are verbs that have that to form, as in to work or to sleep, or if you want to use Shakespeare's example, to be or not to be. That is the question. Those are infinitives there. So necesse est is often followed by an infinitive verb. Necesse est laborare, it is necessary to work. Necesse est dormire, it is necessary to sleep. So again, infinitives take that form of to, as in to do something, and they end with this re. That's how you can recognize an infinitive verb. Necessitas laborare, necessitas dormire. So those are the basics of the topics for the chapter. And now I'm going to go into the story, but I'm not going to read the story this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read each of the new vocabulary words as a way of getting pronunciation right. So I'm going to read through these fairly quickly. Nondum, lucet, surgit, pervilam, pervilam, pater, mater, etiam, neque, tamen, ancilla, omnes, observat, quibus, coquere, mox, strenue, aqua, portant, reprehendit, docet, curare, lanam trahunt, omnia quae, adjuvare, ipsa, nunc, and necesse est. As I just said up there, it is necessary, necesse est. Now, I'm going to translate the first paragraph of the story so that we can take a look at maybe the first 2 or 3 questions down for 6a over here, and we'll write those over here, time allowing. So, nondum lucet, sed Cornelia surgit et per villam ambulat. Nondum lucet, both new words here. Nondum lucet, not yet is it light. So, it is not yet day. It is not yet light. But Cornelia surgit. Cornelia gets up or rises. Et per villam ambulat. And ambulat we've seen before, and walks. Per villam is new, through the country house. So the first sentence, it is not yet light or it is not yet day, but Cornelia rises or gets up and walks through the villa. Ad hoc dormiunt pater et mater et Marcus. Ad hoc is a word that you've seen before, which means still. Dormiunt is a plural verb, and these are the subjects of that verb, pater et mater et Marcus. So still, father and mother, you see down here, pater et mater, et Marcus, dormiunt. So still, father and mother and Marcus are sleeping. Or father and mother and Marcus are still sleeping. Etiam sextus dormit neque Corneliam vexat. Also, a new word for also. We've seen quoque already, but here's another word for also. Etiam. It can mean also or even. It's an adverb. Also, sextus also sleeps. Neque Corneliam vexat. Neque means and something not, and used with a verb here. And does not bother. Vexat means to bother or annoy, and here is the direct object of that verb, and that is Cornelia. So also Sextus sleeps, or Sextus is also sleeping, and is not bothering Cornelia. Non tamen dormiunt servi et ancillae. Not, however, they sleep, the slaves and slave women. Better English for that would be the slaves and slave women do not, however, sleep, or are not, however, sleeping. And that could be said a number of ways, obviously, a different order of words. Omnes iam surgunt et laborare parant quod Cornelium et Aureliam timent. Omnes is a new word here, all, meaning all the people. All now rise, and they prepare to work. So there's a verb with an infinitive. They prepare to work because, quod, they fear, timent, they fear, and here are the direct objects of that verb, Cornelius and Aurelia. You note again the M endings for direct objects. So that's the first paragraph. This video is going to go a little bit long, but let's look at the first, let's say, 2 Two questions from 6A, and then I'll let you work on this on your own. So 6A, quis surgit. Quis means who, and surgit means gets up. So who gets up? That's the number one. And number two uses the plural form of that word quis, which is qui. Qui dormiunt. So you notice the nt ending for the plural verb there. Who are sleeping. So who singular gets up, and who are sleeping, or who sleep. And so the answers to that can be found fairly quickly. Cornelia surgit would be the answer for number one. So we can write that in here. Cornelia surgit. And two, qui dormiunt. This is the second sentence. Ad hoc dormiunt pater et mater et Marcus. So we don't have to say ad hoc. It's just asking who are sleeping. And so we can say pater, mater, et Marcus dormiunt. Father, mother, and Marcus are sleeping. And I will stop there. This is a longish video, but the intent is to give you the rough sketches of the grammar and get you started on that 6A, or that A exercise, which is usually the first thing you have to do in each assignment. Okay, good luck to you, and I will do exercise 6C and D in the next video.